me. I have MAGA people sending people to my house. I have Laura Loomer in my box all day telling me she's telling Trump to post negatively about me.
Typified.
Trump posted something about me. He told me to shut the fuck up. So I got arrested 4 times for this guy.
Hey, what is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have got an absolutely electric face-off between Andrew and Owen, where things start out as a political conversation and slowly spiral into one of the most revealing confrontations you will ever see between two figures from opposite ends of the spectrum, from foreign policy disasters to domestic failures to a jaw-dropping admission you will not believe came out of someone's mouth on camera. This debate is layers, and you are going to want to see how it unfolds. Trust me on this one. You will want to stick around all the way through, because the back half of this video carries a moment that genuinely shifts how you see the entire conversation. Skip nothing, because every section builds into the next. Also, before we get rolling, drop a comment and let me know what part of the world you are tuning in from today. I genuinely love seeing where everyone is watching from and reading through your thoughts after the video. Alright, enough setup. Let's get straight into it.
First of all, do you know every single person? Were those schoolgirls pedophiles?
It's institutionalized in the Iranian
Constitution. No. Were the 200 schoolgirls pedophiles?
You want to make sure that they're alive so they can get raped? But that aside, no, of course not. But there's going to be deaths inside of a war.
Okay, so it is a war.
Yeah, I didn't say it wasn't a war.
Does he need
I'm not going
congressional
to quibble
approval?
over the word. Even though there's no ground invasion, there's no boots on the ground, there's none of that. I just want to know, how is the global interest served? You're so concerned about pedophiles. He killed one of the most major ones who's ever existed since the late 1970s. He
was friends with Epstein.
He put it inside of the Constitution of Iran that you can marry 9-year-old girls, dude. And by the way, Khomeini,
that's good.
Hang on, almost done. Khomeini was married to a 15-year-old. Perhaps by the lunar cycle could have been 14. His son was married to a 14 or 15-year-old. A lot of his high command were married to children as well. Trump killed all of them without a single boot on the ground.
Great. And I'm sure after we've killed thousands of Iranians, including young schoolgirls and the entire family, I'm sure that the Iranians are going to be less radicalized because of that. So I'm not
radicalized. What do you mean? How do you get more radicalized than marrying children, dude?
What do you think they're going to stop?
What are you talking about?
You think they're going to stop?
No, well, I'm just saying, how do you get more radical? You're like, oh, the Iranians are going to get more radicalized than marrying kids?
Well,
like, the United States blowing up the pedophiles is going to really make them mad.
How many countries has Iran been bombing this year?
Well, Iran is a state sponsor of terrorism. You agree with that?
And is Israel a state sponsor of terrorism?
I think that Israel's done many terrorist actions.
Is America a state sponsor of terrorism?
I don't think that America generally is a state sponsor of terrorism.
Okay, well, in the Obama administration, it's very well known we were arming moderate rebels that turned into ISIS and turned into ISIL. So America backs these proxy groups. The CIA backs these proxy groups.
But that was due to Bush doctrine. Most of
and
that
now Trump isn't. Now Trump is Bush.
Trump has where's the forever war?
We're in the Middle East.
Not a single boot on the ground.
We've been in the Middle East the majority of Trump's administration.
Is there a single boot on the ground in Iran?
We have been at a war in
Iran
question, bro. Since.
Is there a single boot?
Yes.
Okay, where?
That's like
where?
All over the Middle East. We have boots on the ground.
No, in
all
Iran.
Over. We've got boots on the ground.
Where's our invasionary
in the
force?
Strait. We got people in the Strait. We're talking about going to Karg Island.
Oh, we had 7,000 people there, and now there's 10,000 people there. So where's the big invasionary force to take over Iran?
So okay, fine. I'll tell you what.
Where's that?
If they do go into Iran, what will you say?
Yeah.
Then?
Well, at that point, I'm done.
Okay, fair enough.
It is the case.
Fair enough.
I've drawn the line for myself that if there's a ground invasion of Iran, that would be a continuation.
What about casualties?
Hang on. That would be a continuation of the Bush policies.
What about casualties?
Hang on. Let me finish the point, and I'll get to casualties too. If it's the case that there's a mass ground invasion of Iran, then yeah, I would have to pull support then, because that would be a continuation of Bush forever war doctrine. However, limited strikes like what we saw in Venezuela, or 6 to 8 weeks, which is what we're seeing right now, that's not enough to pull my support from this president, especially with all of his success in domestic policy. Even if I grant you, and I'm not a fan of the war, I'm not an advocate of it, but even if I grant it that it's the worst thing he could have possibly done, it's not going to change the fact he's been a successful president. His domestic policies alone in eliminating crime and mass migration and being a net negative, that's what people wanted more than anything. It wasn't just the forever wars, it was the mass migration. That's what Trump always harped on. And he's been after it and after it and after it. And he did deploy the National Guard to protect these various centers in these cities. While ICE was removing these people from the nation, Democrats did everything that they could do to stop them, including court cases, terrorism against them, and everything else in between. So it's like, All of those show me that the guy is very successful, even if I grant it to you how bad Iran is.
You have to understand something right off the bat. The moment someone has to justify civilian deaths in another country by pivoting to a list of crimes committed by leaders, that is the exact moment you know the argument has collapsed. Andrew was simply asking a basic question. Were the schoolgirls pedophiles? And instead of giving a real answer, the response was a dodge wrapped in moral outrage. That is the part that needs to be exposed. And here is what people don't realize. When Andrew said this, he was forcing the other side to confront something they refuse to look at. Andrew said this, "I'm sure, after we've killed thousands of Iranians, including young schoolgirls and the entire family, I'm sure that the Iranians are going to be less radicalized because of that." That is the line that should make every person in this room pause, because this is the same broken pattern we have seen for decades. You bomb a region, you kill innocents, you destabilize entire generations, and then you act shocked when those regions produce more anger toward you. It is not complicated. It is history repeating itself. And let me break down why this matters. The same playbook was run in Iraq. The same playbook was run in Libya. The same playbook was run in Syria when, as Andrew correctly pointed out, the Obama administration armed so-called moderate rebels who later became the foundation of ISIS. That is documented. That is on the record. And every single time, the people pushing these wars promise it will be different. It never is. What blows my mind is the comfort with which Owen brushes off the cost. He literally says limited strikes are not enough to pull my support. Limited strikes that killed thousands of people. Limited strikes that destroyed entire families. The word limited is doing an enormous amount of work in that sentence, and the casualness of it is exactly why this needs to be broken down clearly for everyone watching.
Well, I think that they made a major blunder on the deportations because now they're basically stopping them. They should have gone after the Democrats first. Quite frankly, they should have been arresting Democrats for treason. Alejandro Mayorkas should have been the first arrest. He should have been hauled in front of Congress. And you're a little too late going after the SPLC, in my opinion, which is now being, funny enough, it's actually being directed at the right. They're now using this SPLC thing to claim that anybody that's a dissident on the right is paid for by leftists and needs to be censored. That seems to be the theme with that. But they should have gone after all of these groups right out of the gate, Andrew. They should have gone after all the Catholic charity groups, all the Jewish charity groups, all these groups all along the Rio Grande, all of these groups on the southern border, all the Democrats that brought them in, all the Biden administration that brought them in. All of them should have been hauled to jail.
Yeah,
and they weren't.
Except they have due process, Owen.
And what process have they started?
Hang on.
They haven't even started the process.
So how do you know the SPLC?
Because there's no results.
Tell me, how long were you aware of the SPLC investigation?
What are the charges? They're all financial crimes.
Hang on, let's walk through this. When were you aware of the SPLC investigation? When they released it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so when they released it. You're not aware of what the Trump Justice Department is investigating or not investigating.
Show me the evidence.
He said
you're the one who wants to talk about. There's no evidence of your claim. Lack of evidence, lack of claim.
Hang on. He said multiple times that he wants to bring James Comey up on charges. Right? He said multiple times that he wants to go after these people.
Those charges got dropped.
Instructing his Justice Department to investigate these things, we're finally starting to see the fruit. My evidence is we're finally seeing the fruit. With the SPLC, I'm guaranteeing you that there's going to be other organizations which are indicted for various things like this. This is exactly what it is that you said that you wanted. It's at least a step in the right direction.
They've only been charged for financial crimes. They need to be charged for treason.
So was Al Capone.
They need to be charged for treason.
Yeah, Al Capone. Al Capone was not charged for his mob hits or for bootlegging or this, that. He's charged with financial crimes.
You're not comparing Al Capone to 15 million invasion of this country.
If it's the case that you go to jail for 15 years.
Al Capone is more of an American than Mayorkas.
If you go to jail for 15 years for the crime of murder or to jail for 15 years for the crime of for some type of financial fraud, you can prove the one but not the other. Which one would you go after?
I would go for it all. That's what the feds do. That's what they did to me.
No, you wouldn't. If you could prove one but not the other, you would go after the one you could prove.
No. They always overcharge so they can get you a plea and get their incarceration rate and get their conviction rate. I would know. I've been through it before.
Sure.
Regardless, we're talking about almost 2 years into this administration and no deep state arrests. None.
Who do you want to see arrested?
I just told you Mayorkas. There's one. How about the Obama administration?
Yeah,
how about John Brennan? How about James Clapper? How about James Comey?
Tell me what your process would be to arrest them.
Okay. First of all, Dan Bongino, who was the deputy director at the FBI, spent 8 years writing books and doing a podcast
did.
all about arresting these people. He gets in there and does none of it.
Yeah,
so
the
did
same
he,
Dan Bongino who talked about what was going on in the Epstein files ad nauseum, how none of it made sense.
And then changed his mind.
Because he went in and saw, here's what's funny. Why would anybody ever want to go work for the Trump administration from the private sector, especially somebody like Dan Bongino, if it's the case that he goes in, looks at the evidence, reviews it, and says, actually, I got this wrong, and you guys fucking crucify him for it. You crucify him for saying, look, I got this wrong. And it's like, why would anybody ever want to go work for the Trump administration if that's going to be the case, Owen?
This is the part that completely flips the conversation. Owen wants people arrested, not investigated, not charged through proper procedure, arrested, and Andrew immediately delivered the line that should be framed and put on a wall. Andrew said this, except they have due process. Owen, that is the entire foundation of a functioning society in one sentence, and the response to it was somehow that political opponents should have been hauled to jail right out of the gate. You cannot run a country like that. You cannot just round up people you disagree with politically and demand prosecution before any investigation has been completed. Every single person watching this needs to understand that the moment you abandon due process for your enemies, you have already lost it for yourself. History is full of this lesson. The Roman Republic fell into dictatorship the same way. Lawful procedure was traded for political revenge, and once that door was open, no one could close it again. And then we get to the moment that I genuinely could not believe was said out loud. Owen said this, "They always overcharge so they can get you a plea and get their incarceration rate and get their conviction rate. I would know. I've been through it before." Let that sink in for a second. That is a critique of the federal prosecution system that progressive criminal justice reform advocates have been making for years. Mass incarceration, plea bargain coercion, prosecutorial overreach. These are the exact arguments the left has been hammering on, and now suddenly, when it affects his side, it becomes a problem worth talking about. This is the part that blows my mind. The rules only matter when they apply to you. And Andrew followed up with the cleanest hit of the night. Andrew said this, "We're talking about almost 2 years into this administration and no deep state arrests. None. After years of promises, years of podcasts, years of books, nothing. And when one of their own people went inside, looked at the actual evidence, and changed his mind, they crucified him for it." That tells you everything you need to know about whether this was ever about justice or just performance.
Imagine that. You give us a little peek into what's going on in the Epstein files, and it makes people even more aware and more suspicious, and then you say there's no there there. If anything, our peek at the Epstein files showed us that there is something serious there. Very serious.
You've never, look, not only have you never provided any evidence for that, but your other problem is you didn't actually answer my question. What incentivization would like, let's say Trump drafted you to go to his administration to investigate these things, and you went in good faith and you did. And you came back and you were like, look, I took a look at all this evidence and I was wrong about this. And then all of your friends and cohorts and everybody else who was cheering you on fucking crucified you for it.
You know what, Andrew? It's funny that you say that because that's literally happening to me right now.
From who?
That's literally happening to me. From this new MAGA right cult.
Who?
I already did this. I already put my time in.
Yeah,
I
but
was
who's
arrested.
crucifying
Hold on
you
a second.
for it?
Hold on a second. Hold
Yeah.
on a second. For four different times, I was arrested for supporting Trump. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
All incorrect, by the way.
Now, you like Trump. I don't like Trump. Now, beyond the point, I already went through that crucible. I already put my face, my name, my neck out there, and it's not even that I necessarily did it for Trump. I did it for the truth because I believed Trump was innocent and I wanted to support him.
But how
so
are you
I've
being
already been through that.
crucified?
I have MAGA people putting me on lists. I have
What
MAGA
lists?
people doxing me. I have MAGA people sending people to my house. I have Laura Loomer in my box all day telling me she's telling Trump to post negatively about me.
Typified.
Trump posted something about me. He told me to shut the fuck up. So I got arrested 4 times for this guy, spent months in prison for this guy, did everything for this guy, censored, lawsuit, everything, lost all my social media, kept supporting him. And then what is the one recognition I get from him? Fuck you, shut up. I don't even care. I did it because it's the truth. And now the truth is, this administration has turned against us. MAGA has now been weaponized against us, and Trump is now the very globalist that we were supposed to get out of the White House.
This is ironically hilarious. So the first thing that you claim, you say, hey, look, I was crucified for my support of Donald Trump by Democrats. Do you agree? It's by Democrats.
Well, actually, first it was by Republicans because we were going up against.
Never Trumpers.
Yeah.
Like you are right now.
No, I'm not a never Trumper. I voted for him 3 times.
What happened is, well, now you're like, oh, he's the worst thing ever.
No, I'm
when
saying
you're talking
he's failed. This administration
he hasn't failed. And when you're talking about this, Democrats were the ones who persecuted you. Democrats were the ones who threw you in jail. They were the ones who didn't want to give you a fair trial. Me and my wife, we advocated for the release of J6ers everywhere that we possibly could, yourself included.
And I will give Trump that. That is the biggest victory.
Yeah,
I will never regret voting for Trump because he did that.
Yeah,
never.
Huge victory, okay? But not only that, let's dive into this a little bit deeper. When you're talking about your supposed crucifixion now by the right, Trump hasn't shut down your channels. He hasn't done any of that. Under Biden, that was a sure thing
to have happened. Well, let's not be so sure that's not going to happen soon.
Oh, this is the moment. This is the moment, because right here, on camera, in front of an audience, a man who got arrested 4 times defending a political movement publicly admitted that movement turned against him. Owen said this: "That's literally happening to me from this new MAGA cult." Cult. He used the word cult. Not me, not Andrew, him. The man who spent years on the front lines, who lost his platforms, who went to prison, who sacrificed everything, just called it a cult on a public stage. And here is what people don't realize. He did not say this in anger. He said it because he lived it. He said his own house was being targeted. He said figures inside the movement were whispering against him. He said the very leader he sacrificed everything for publicly told him to shut up. And then comes the line that should echo across every political conversation for the rest of this administration. Owen said this: "This administration has turned against us. MAGA has now been weaponized against us. That is not a critic on the outside. That is someone who was inside the room. That is someone who put his face, his name, and his freedom on the line for years." And his conclusion, after all of that, was that the very figure he supported has become the very thing the movement was supposedly created to defeat. Read that sentence twice, if you have to, because it is one of the most damning admissions you will ever hear from someone in his position. What you have to understand is that this is the natural ending of any political movement built on grievance instead of principle. When loyalty is the only currency, the moment you raise a single question, you become the enemy. The same supporters who screamed about free speech turn into the people putting you on lists. The same supporters who screamed about justice turn into the people doxing you, and the leader they worship, the one they swore would protect them, becomes the one who tells them to shut up the moment they stop being useful. That is not freedom. That is not patriotism. That is exactly what every honest critic has been warning about from the very beginning. And the saddest part is that it took him this long to see it. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.